This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon.
And I've always resented, I really do hate that there are so many people who look at me and see tall, confident black girl. She must want to tie me up and call me a little white bitch. No. Hey guys, it's Kat and it's time for another episode of True Tea. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here for yet another episode of True Tea. We do these videos every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I appreciate those of you guys who are here every single week without fail, ready to give me your fresh brew of True Tea. Anyway, how have you guys been? What have you guys been up to? What's new in your life? I've had an interesting couple of weeks. As you guys know, I've been going through it the past couple of months, and one of the things that I guess is new for me this week is I put makeup on. I bothered to put makeup on for the first time in months. I don't know if you guys can really tell because of the way that these videos come out, I guess, but like I haven't been wearing makeup and I put makeup on tonight and I kind of like totally forgot what to do with my face. I also recently trimmed my brows and I'm learning that I can't quite do some of the things I used to do in my early 20s with makeup, but you know, lessons, you know, life lessons. Speaking of lessons, we're gonna be having an interesting conversation in this video about race play. So you might want to go to your kitchen and grab yourself something to drink. I would probably suggest that, you know, you put a little alcohol in it this week because girl, I don't even know where this conversation is going to go. Now, this is not alcohol, but it is a shaker. I got a cocktail kit and I've been like really enjoying being my own little like barista at home. And so actually in here, I've got a taro tea mix that I got from the internet and it's really amazing and I don't have to go and get taro tea. So I figured that I would shake this up for you guys and pour it out, and then we can start having this rough ass conversation about race play. So I love how when you shake it, it gets like frosted. That's so cool. In a different lifetime, I would be a sexy bartender at a bar. I mean, that's still a possibility if bars ever open up again. I don't know if I want to be a bartender. I just like the concept. It's all cold now and frosted. All right, so let's pour this bad boy out. Look at it. It's all taro colored. Oh, you can't really see that, I don't think. This is like the most satisfying thing ever. Ever since I got this, it's like, I don't even need to go to the store anymore and get this stuff. I can just make it here on my own. Okay. All right. Prost. Let me know what's in your mug in the comment box below. So I wanted to talk to you guys about race play. And race play, honestly, it's gonna be hard for me to quantify because it can literally be so many things. But at the crux of it, race play is often play around, well, let's just be frank, racism, you know? A lot of race play is kind of about taking these racial taboos and finding pleasure within them. And it can literally look so many different ways. It could be black people fetishizing white people fetishizing black people, Asian people fetishizing, you know, Arabian people. It is literally one of those things that kind of goes in so many different directions where it's not like it's just one side does this and the other side, you know, it's not like that. Race play is something that people of all backgrounds do. Right now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Race play is something that I find to be very upsetting. I find race play as a concept to be really upsetting just because as a black person within the BDSM community, there's not many of us, right? And when you're one of the few black girls in one of these spaces, unfortunately, what ends up happening is there's gonna be a lot of people who approach you for race play. And it's actually been a big pet peeve of mine because on every single fetish, BDSM, whatever social networking website I'm on, I make it super clear that I'm not into race play. But what will happen time and time and time and time and time again is I will inevitably be contacted by a person who wants to do race play. It's just a really upsetting thing for me. And that's what I wanted to kind of talk about in this video, is just kind of my own personal feelings about race play and my own personal experience being around race play, because I got some opinions, I got some feelings, right? But I will start out by saying that everyone has got their thing. I want to try not to kink shame in this video, but I know that I'm going to. I know that that's just going to happen. But I do want to start out by saying that I do intellectually understand that there are plenty of people of color who are into this. There are plenty of people of color who enjoy it, who find it cathartic, who find it healing in some way, shape, or form. I know that there are several sex workers who play into it, and so I'm not really here to say that you guys are wrong. I'm just here to say how I feel about it, because I'm not into it and I'm not a sex worker, and yet it is something that I have to constantly navigate around because I am a Black woman, and that just means a lot of things. And we'll get to this later, but there's a whole other added layer of it when you're a Black trans woman too. Just add the trans part in there and it gets extra screwy. So, I'm just here to talk about my experience. You guys know True Tea is about that. It's about my own personal perspective. I might be wrong about certain things. If you're somebody who does race play and you want to clap back at me in the comment section, please feel free to do so. That's what this is all about. Even if you disagree with me, feel free to share it. So, yeah. So I guess if we're talking about race play, we have to kind of give some examples, because I often forget that there's a lot of people who watch my YouTube channel who don't know anything about this stuff. I forget that so often because I'm so used to being around people who understand stuff like race play and half the shit that I talk about that I sometimes forget that I do need to explain and give scenarios, right? I guess a really classic, well, I'll just give you a really simple one that pops into people's heads really quickly early on when it comes to race play, and then we'll get into one that's a lot more common, okay? So, common race play scenario, right? I am the Black woman who is a submissive, right? And I want to find a white master, who I can be enslaved by. Now, I personally don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with master-slave dynamics, really. How to say this? Most people, a lot of y'all who aren't in the BDSM community are gonna hear me say that and not get it. I don't think there's anything wrong with people who want to live in that lifestyle consensually, where they agree to it, and that's what it is. Some people, they want to live their lives as a slave, and I'm really like, if that's what you wanna do, that's what you wanna do. Personally, my ancestors fought a little bit too hard for me to want this, but I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life. But I'm just saying that for me, it's a no. It's a no. But I wanna make it clear that there's kind of a difference between that and then adding the racial aspect onto it. But classic example is something like that, right? Where I'm a Black woman who wants to live in this lifestyle where I have a white master, and race play is part of that play, where he is literally acting like my overseer. He is literally acting like my master, and I'm the lowly slave serving the white man. And for some people on both sides of that dynamic, they get off on it, right? And it does something, it tickles the back of their ear. That's not a saying, but that is my spot. But you know what I mean? Like, for some people that is their thing. And again, like I'm trying to say in this video, for me, it is definitely not my thing. Definitely not my thing. But it is something that I get constantly presented with, right? Now let's get to a more common example. This is one of the ones that I kind of have a bone to pick with, right? So I think race play comes up the most in the context of cuckoldry. Isn't that a lovely word? Cuckoldry is basically when a husband is very turned on by the idea of his wife fucking somebody else. And cuckoldry has a lot of nuances. That's like kind of the base of it, right? But on top of that, a really common aspect of cuckoldry is this idea of his wife fucking somebody who is sexually superior to him, right? Somebody who could satisfy his wife in a way that he never could, right? Now, when we add the race play part into this, where I see race play most commonly is in the context of cuckoldry, where the sexually superior person in the equation is the black man. And this black man is someone who they bring in for naughty fun times, and that is their dynamic. And I think for me, I run into this a lot because I mean, if I run into a handsome, good-looking black man on a fetish website, I want to say about 95% of the time, he's got stuff like BBC Bull in his profile. BBC Bull. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the British Broadcasting Company. I am talking about big, girl, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't say it on here without getting demonetized. Hell, this video is probably already demonetized, but we're at least gonna try to not get it demonetized. But that's kind of what it is like, I can't, like most of the time I run into a handsome black guy. He's always got this BBC bullshit on his profile. And for me, it makes me kind of depressed because all too often what that means is that he's exclusively looking for white women and specifically looking for white women in a coupled relationship who he could come in and do the with and go, you know what I mean? And I think for me, one of the big sort of sticking points I have with the race play conversation is that, no offense, but men, in my opinion, are kind of the weakest link when it comes to a lot of this stuff, because racial fetishism is one of those things for me that is such a line. It is such a distinct line that I don't want to cross, right? But for a lot of black men, it does not seem to be as much of a line. And when I say that, I mean that, like I said, you go to their profiles and there's BBC Bull all over the profile. It's like, this is a thing that, you know, they desire. But what I think it is more often is a lot of times black men do not feel like they are desirable. They do not feel like they are what most people want. And for a lot of black men, they do find a niche, a special little pocket for them to fit into where when they meet a white couple who's really, really looking for a black guy, right? So much of race play is tied directly to dehumanization. In the situation I just described where the black man is coming in and fucking the white wife, so much of that, comes from, so much of the taboo around this rather is really around the idea of this black man as a less than human thing, right? Now, to be clear, there's nothing wrong with looking at a black man, finding him attractive and being interested in him in that way. Just to make that super, super, super clear. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But, but this is different because in so many of the things I've seen with these race play blogs, the way that they imagine black men, the way that they can, envision them is these mindless creatures who will fuck anything if it's white. And I really do mean anything, who is subhuman. I've been on a lot of race play blogs where you see one picture of them fucking a black dude, the next picture is them fucking a horse. You know what I mean? Shit like that, where they really do see black men as not even quite human. And that's kind of what the taboo is that they're fucking somebody who they you know, innately feel is just inferior to them. And I think what confuses me is, again, these Black men that I interact with, it's like so many of them do not see it as an issue. Like they're just happy to be there. They're happy that they get the opportunity to be with a white woman. And it's so confusing to me because you can sleep with, believe it or not, there are plenty of white women out there who aren't racist. You know, there are plenty of white women out there who aren't gonna, you know, require you to do this weird BBC racial fetishism thing. Like, plenty, you know, but for some reason I've ran into so many Black men who just do not seem fazed by race play at all. In fact, there are some Black men who see it almost as a badge of pride that they get to fuck the white man's partner. You know, that's I've literally because of course y'all I've gotten into some shit because I've asked these questions to Black men. Like I just asked them directly, like what, why? And so many times I've gotten the answer of, you know, it's really not that deep, basically. You know, I wanted to fuck, she was there and willing, and she liked me because I was Black, so I did it. And here's the thing, Black men, I think, are very used to not being preferred. You know, I think a lot of Black men feel like very few people prefer them. And these white couples who are looking for a Black bull do prefer them. And so sometimes I do think that for some Black men, it is a case of getting in where you fit in. But I guess for me, the idea of being sexually involved with a white person who is racist, it brings a whole wave of terror over my body that I can't even describe, you know, how terrifying it is to me. You know, like I'll be transparent. I've been in situations where I'm with a man, we're getting along really well, and we have an intimate moment. And in the middle of that intimate moment, he'll say some shit like, yeah, you like that white dick. And it's like, God, like the amount of time, I mean, I've had so many times where that's happened where, you know, we'll be hanging out and everything's fine. And then suddenly the dick is white. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know that I thought it was just a dick, but in this context, apparently it's a white dick. And I guess for me, when I'm in those situations, I'm thinking like, what is going through your head? Like when you sit and say shit like, oh yeah, you like that white dick. What is going through your mind? Like what's up here? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it that you're thinking? You know, because to me, I don't look at a man and say, yeah, I want to suck that white dick. I never think of that. I don't think of that at all. I don't think like that at all whatsoever. I think this is a person I'm really into. Maybe I want to do that thing with them, right? But there are some people who specifically get off on the racial difference, you know? And I think that is where, for me, it gets a little confusing because I don't think that there's really anything wrong with being turned on by racial difference. But race play is a little different than that. Race play is a little different than that, because for a lot of race play, it really does go beyond just being curious about another race. And it really does turn into, this could be literally anyone. Like they could do race play with literally any Black man, you know? And it just is copy and paste the same sort of thing. I mean, that's one of the things I find really interesting. Like, I've seen so many like 5-inch BBCs, right? There's so many average size Black penises that by virtue of being Black are BBCs, right? By virtue, you know? I've watched like these videos of these couples, like where they're touting this BBC, and it's like, this guy has like a 4-inch penis and there's nothing wrong with it. It looks like it's working just fine, but there's no way, there's no BBC there. But you, just because this person is Black, have decided, you know, I forget the word, but you've decided that he has a big one because he's Black. It's weird to me. It's real strange. It's some real strange shit to me, honestly. In fact, I very often will get contacted on fetish websites from these race play blogs. Now, of course, I've got all over my page race play is racist. Please don't contact me for race play. But, you know, that never stops, you know, black man's whore 75 from contacting me. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't stop, you know, sissy slut for black dick 27 from sending me messages, not even reading my profile and knowing that that's not what I'm into at all. They just see black and they message, you know? And when you look at, like, I've read like race play, I've read forums where people are talking about race play, and the way that these people talk about black people is so appalling. I remember reading this one, there was a time where I was gonna do a video about this, like a research video about this. And I sat down and started reading through race play blogs. And there were so many threads about how, you know, when you get a black man in the bedroom and you call him the N-word, he's really into it. You know, he won't admit it outside of the bedroom, but you get him in there, nothing turns him on more, you know? Just the way they talk about it. And so for me, because I get contacted a lot by these race play people, what sticks out to me is I always tell them, no, I don't want this, please leave me alone. And so I think of the times I've been contacted by these race play people, the vast majority of the time, they don't respond back with, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. They respond back with, oh my gosh, well, and they start ranting at me for not responding positively to their racist inquiry about me, you know? And so for me, it's very hard for me to believe, personally, that a white person who engages in this race play shit isn't racist. And it just makes me very uncomfortable. I don't like when anyone focuses. It's one thing to acknowledge my race and to celebrate my race and to say that I have a different race than you, that may or may not mean that we've lived very dramatically different lives. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, the issue comes when I could literally be any black woman and I would have to adhere to your like preconceived racial fetish. You know, taking it away from black people a little bit, I grew up in a predominantly Chinese and Korean neighborhood. And so many of my friends growing up had to deal with white men specifically approaching them because they wanted a submissive little Asian woman, right? Now, growing up with Asian women, submissive? Not my friends, at least. I'm not saying it's impossible, but yeah, no, like the idea of like a shrieking, you know, Violet, this like quiet geisha kind of character, like just even thinking about the vast majority of, you know, my Asian girlfriends growing up, they weren't like that at all, right? But the idea that so many of these people had was that all Asian women were just this one specific way, right? All Asian women, by virtue of their Asianness, you know, Asia, which is a gigantic continent that has so many different cultures, must all adhere to this one specific thing. Personally, where I get resentment around a lot of this, you know, those types of assumptions is, you know, where Asian women are seen as very, very submissive, black women are seen as very, very dominant. I'll never forget, I posted a picture in this atheist group I was in with my ex. And so many of the comments were from white men patting my ex on his back for being with a black girl because apparently by virtue of me being black, I must be able to aggressively ride his situation. And, you know, I don't know how, I mean, I'm assuming, well, let me not assume, but if you've ever done that in your life, it is quite the athletic ordeal. And I personally do not have that amount of athleticism. I'm working on it, but I do not, you know? And I've always resented, I really do hate that there are so many people who look at me and see tall, confident black girl, she must want to tie me up and call me a little white bitch. No. And I spend so much time pushing those people away, so much time shutting those people down. It is very, very, very frustrating. And it's frustrating again, because these people are taking their racial fetish and they're completely ignoring me as an individual and just trying to project their racial fetishism onto me. And that's not fucking okay. Even if we weren't talking about race play, that's not okay. You know, it's I have had a couple of occasions where men have asked me if I was into race play. They've asked me before, they just assumed that I was, right? And I appreciated that, even though I judged them for wanting me to be into race play with them, because, well, I'm not into race play and I feel like race play is racist and I probably will always feel that way, but at least they asked. You know, so many of these people who are into race play, they don't even think like this is what gets me about their particular thing with black men. So many people who are into race play like this, they have such shitty views of people of color, black people specifically, right? Like they really do think that they can just walk up to a black person, and because black people are just apparently so hypersexual, we're just gonna be happy to just do this sexual thing with you, you know, and they especially feel that way about black men, because black men again are often viewed as less than human, only there for fucking, just super horny all the time, you know. So the way that race play often takes on a new nuance for me as a trans person is that I get this weird sort of combination of the stereotypes about women and also the stereotypes about men. So quite a few men who are interested in black transgender women specifically, because I've of course gotten messages from all of those guys. They're interested in black transgender women because they assume that they have the BBC. But the BBC is now attached to a woman, so like it's okay. It's still like okay because it's attached to a woman now. And not to tell y'all too much about me, and not to get too intimate in this video, but that's definitely not the case in my situation. Definitely not the case here. I've often been, I've kind of briefly spoken about this, you know, without being so direct, but I personally just in general hate people approaching me for that. But the frustrating thing to me about that is that it's something that I literally couldn't do even if I wanted to. I physically can't do that. I physically cannot do that thing. And so it has been pretty frustrating for me to have people approach me specifically looking for that thing, knowing that it's a thing I couldn't give them even if I was into it. And then having the contentious, shitty arguments with, so many of these people who approach you, like, this is actually connecting with me literally right now. So many of the people who fetishize you and see you as, you know, an embodiment of their fetishes, the moment you speak up for yourself, the moment you sort of pat them on the shoulder and say, you know, I'm an individual, right? That's when the issues come. That's when they start getting nasty. And I've had so many situations where I try to make it clear, hey, I'm actually not like that, and I don't appreciate being assumed to be like that. I've had so many times where that correction of me just sort of standing up for myself and saying, hey, actually, that's not true about me. So many times, that particular conversation has ended in an argument and them getting shitty, you know? And God, I don't know if I should talk about this. So in my little circle, there was this couple that I knew of, and their whole thing was, you know, BBC. Finding that BBC, that was her whole identity, to the point where she got, oh God, this is how far it goes for some people. She was so obsessed with black men that she got a tattoo of a spade, a black spade, which is another kind of term they use for black men. Right on her situation, like right on the, like right there, right? That's how dedicated she was. Now, this same person is a huge Trump supporter. right? I don't know why people do this thing sometimes where they like slowly but surely slip in their politics into their little sex stuff. But huge Trump supporter, anti-BLM posts, but all of her stuff, all of her and her husband's stuff is about them finding and fucking black men. That's like their whole social media presence. And they're also these massive Trump supporters, COVID deniers, and that's their thing. You know, I don't think I've ever met somebody who has great politics, you know, and ultimately respects black people who's into race play. I mean, you just peel back the layer a bit and it's like to me, in my experience, almost every single time, it's bad news. It's people being shitty. It's people being gross. You know, I don't get it. I don't get it. People are very, 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 very confusing to me, you know? Yeah, it's just something I don't do. It's just something I'm not interested in and I don't want to be part of. I really firmly believe that race play is racist. Even if you're a person of color who enjoys it, I pretty firmly believe that it's racist. Sorry, I mean, I'm not really sorry, but I will cordially say sorry because I get that for some people it's very cathartic. But I guess I think of it like this. Like, in a world that didn't have racism, would race play even be a thing? You know? I don't know. That's probably not the right way to look at it because obviously, like I said, most of our taboos, most of our kinks, most of our fetishes are based on some fucked up stuff. And, you know, if we sit and think about it and deconstruct it, everything's fucked up. All of it's bad. You know, you could almost say that there isn't, you know, a such thing as something, is it, you know, being better or worse really? But for me, race play is just one of those things that like really crosses the line. Like a lot of the play that I do, a lot of play that I've engaged in is play that I know is not harmful to other people. You know, I'm actively wanting to be harmed, but I'm not, it's like the shit's not actively harmful to other people. You know, I can't look at race play and say that it's not harmful to other people because it is, because it's racism, you know? But that's how I personally feel. I just, you know, you might not, and I think that's totally valid. I will always feel that race play is racist. And the fact that the vast majority of race players don't even care to get my consent before they throw race play in my face is just, to me, evidence enough. I get so many unsolicited race play messages everywhere that like, yeah, no, it's a shitty thing that people do, and I can't see it as a positive. So anyway, I feel like I've said everything I could possibly say. Again, if you are a person who does this stuff, please feel free to correct me. Please feel free to tell me that I'm wrong and that I'm closed-minded and I need to open my mind and all that. Feel free. Feel free. I got my opinion, you got yours. We're both valid. We're both here to share true tea. That's what we're here to do. So here's my brew. Please pour me yours. Anyway, on that note, I think that's all I've got to say. I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say, so please do put your brew in the comment box below. If you made it through this entire video, please put this emoji in the comment box below. I would greatly, greatly appreciate seeing you guys show that you are part of the Cool Kids Club, which is the most exclusive club on campus. We would love to have you. We'd honestly would love to have you. But the thing is, in order to get into the club, everybody had to do the emoji in the comment section. And I like you. I think you're really cool. But like, I don't think that everyone else would be cool if you didn't put the emoji in the comment section. So I'm just saying, it's really truly up to you. I don't want to force, like, we don't believe in pressuring people into doing shit, but like, I'm just saying that all the cool kids are doing it. So if you want to be cool, you would do it too. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Right now, you're looking at 2 videos you can watch if you'd like to continue to sip true tea right here on this channel. And also in the corner, there are several ways you can send me a tip. And also you can send me a package if that's something that you would like to do. You know, sometimes I like packages in my box and all that stuff. So yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.